Namaste, and welcome back to our Cosmic Sacred Circle. I'm DreamWalker, and I'm back with you today. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with tools. I wanted to talk to you about their elemental associations and what they're actually used for during ritual and spellcasting, manifestation. It's a pretty big subject, a lot of information. So I have some notes that I'm going to be referring to, so I can make sure I get my information for you guys. So if I look away, you guys will know what I'm looking at, and I just want to make sure I have all my facts straight for you guys. So before we get into tools, I want to remind everyone that the strongest tool that any of us can use is ourselves. It's our focus. It's our concentration, our intention, and our desires that really manifest the things that we want to bring into our lives. So always, no matter what we have in front of us, our own self is our greatest tool that we can use. So, about tools. What we need to remember, of course, is tools are used for focusing certain energies or to attract certain energies to us. I fully believe that what we keep in our hearts and our minds as a person is what we're going to attract to us. That can be amplified by the things that we carry. If we carry certain stones, if we carry talisman bags that we make, scents that we wear, what we project is what we get back to us. And I think that's important when you're putting together anything that you would like to manifest. So, first subject today is let's talk about blades. Talk about daggers. Daggers and swords are our main bladed weapons that are used. And it's important to realize that these weapons are not really weapons. We don't use them to actually cut anything or use them in a weaponry kind of sense. A lot of tools they represent other things, other beings. They represent specific energies. The energies they produce produce a certain effect for us, and that's why they're used in the circle. In the case of daggers and swords, they're a command weapon. That means they command the energies. They basically tell them what to do. And they're primarily used for opening a circle or closing a circle, or sacred space. So ritualistically speaking, someone will walk around the whole circumference of a circle with a dagger or sword pointed at the ground. And they're using the dagger to focus their mind energy into the ground and to create that barrier, that safe space where things are going to manifest. Keep all that energy enclosed until the caster is ready to release it into the cosmos. So that's what that means, to command something. Traditionally speaking, the energies associated with the dagger are male energies. They're masculine. And they are associated with fire. Traditionally speaking, daggers are placed in the eastern quarter when they're not in use, like on the altar, or whatever space is being used as a working space. So some people will associate air with that as well, because the east has an air association. So some people will say that daggers have an air energy and not a fire energy. But primarily people will say fire. I believe for myself that daggers and swords are fire and water. I feel they have a water element because of the way that they are created. They are drawn out with fire. Whatever metal is being used is being drawn out by fire, and then it's being tempered with water. So because those two elements are there at its creation, I think they're embedded in that tool, and it innately has those elements within it. Um, my Traditionally speaking, as far as what daggers look like, any books or anything that you will find online usually states that daggers have black handles and iron blades. Um, that is just tradition. A lot of people will use, they have stone daggers, uh, daggers made out of copper, uh, crystal. I've seen crystal daggers, bone or horn. Staghorn is something that's very popular for especially the handles of a dagger. Um, People will use ones that are passed down from their family, ones they've picked from the kitchen drawer. I even knew a gentleman who had a fancy letter opener that he used as a dagger. It had pretty jewels on it. Usually just sat on his desk, and he liked it, so he used it. You know, it's just one of those things. My dagger that I have is stainless steel with a mother of pearl handle, so it's white and steel. Not traditional at all, but I like it. I connected with it when I found it. And my dagger, I feel, has a very feminine energy to it. So I think it's one of those things that anything that we use, that we connect with, and you use for a long period of time, it begins to speak with you in a kind of way. And for me, the dagger definitely felt more feminine than it did masculine. So I enjoy it, and I use it a lot, and I've had it for a long time, so I'm sure she'll be with me for a while. So swords. Swords is our next thing. That's our bladed tool. Swords are more of a modern add-in to tools. Not everyone will use them. Some people won't even acknowledge them as weapons because they are a little bit more modern. As far as what they're associated with, a good way to think about that is a sword is a giant dagger. So it will be associated with male energy, associated with fire energy or air energy, depending on what someone feels. They are in bigger groups, covens or groves. Druids refer to themselves as having groves instead of a coven. Either the high priest or priestess, or the high druid will use a sword symbolically for cutting circles, you know, doing the command work as far as the sacred space is concerned. This, I'm sure, primarily is safety issues, or it could be, there again, a symbol of a hierarchy. You have to reach a certain level of study before you can use these particular tools, which is all well and good. I do have a sword, and I do sometimes use the sword for ritual work. Not too often. I just wanted one. I just liked it. I just thought they were kind of cool, so I thought I would get myself one. And for me, my sword is definitely masculine and definitely fire. It's a very commanding weapon. It has a very fiery energy to it, and it's definitely more masculine than my dagger. As far as daggers and swords, and you're going to hear me say this a lot through this video, you are feel free to add and decorate or anything that you wish with your blades, the scabbards, the hilts, anything, the sheath of your dagger, just talismans, symbols of power, something that represents your god or goddess, anything that you would like to dedicate to that particular tool. Feel free. It's yours. You're putting your energy into it. It's your tool. You're empowering it. Whatever you feel will help you bring the energy that you need into your work, that will help you drum up what you need. Certainly do that. Alright, so next we're going to talk about wands and staffs. Now, wands and staffs, I I have a lot to say on this, so let's get going. Wands and staffs. Okay, primarily, primarily wands, of course, are made of wood. Let's start here. They are an evocation tool and a blessing tool. This means that they draw in energy, or you use them to bless things. So there are two schools of thoughts about wands, and the first one is that the energies associated with wands is that they are kept in the east, that they have the element of air, and that they're male. The second school of thought is that they're kept in the south, and that they have male energy and fire energy. This is just the two main thought lines. So given any conversation with anybody, you'll probably get those two answers the most. I believe that the energy of a wand is made up from what it's actually constructed of. As you remember from our last video, there was a list of trees and the magical energy associations that I have with them. Now, that was a limited list because that's what I used and that's what I gelled with the best and what works best for me. So with that said, of course, there's lots of trees all over the world, and each one of them has their own associations as well. Traditionally speaking, wands are made from the sacred trees that have been listed in many texts, and there's 10 to 12 different ones, and I think that depends culturally, and of course what school of study that you're under, what is considered sacred. Druids may have different sacred trees than just Wiccans have. So that's something that, of course, is researchable and to figure out what works for that. So each one of those trees has its own elemental associations, and for me also those magical associations. So depending on what it's made out of may determine its own elemental association. So I have a short list that I want to read for you guys that are the standard sacred trees that are usually used and what they're associated with. So apple tree is water, birch is air and water, elder is water, fir is fire, grape or vine is air or fire, hawthorn is fire, hazel, air, oak, water, rowan, fire, and willow, water. So those are the elements that go along with that. So if something's made out of willow, if you have a wand that's made out of willow, it may have more water energy than it does fire. And if you have something that's made out of a fir tree, it's going to be more fiery than it is going to have air. So I think that is something that's determined into what it's made out of. So taking the examples from the last video, I came up with a couple examples that I just want to explain a little bit further. So if we take our list that we had in our last video, and we want to have a wand or do a spell or ritual that's involving love, we would maybe use apple. And using apple wood will get the love energies, but it will also have water energies, which means it would be a more emotionally based love that we would be casting for. Now, if we want to do love in a different way, we could use We could use hawthorn for a wand, and hawthorn has fire energy. So now we have love, but we also have a more fiery, passionate kind of love. So you can use multiple things to get the different type of result. So I think those things should be taken into consideration when you start crafting these kinds of things. It doesn't hurt to just be aware of what the elements and other things that may be in the background that could be aiding or in a way hindering or even having an unknown influence just because you're not quite aware of it. So that's why I always research and I'm always for research, learn. That's the way my brain works. So, what else can wands be made of besides wood? Primarily, you're probably going to find that they're made out of wood with other things added to them. However, I have seen people use like quartz, like longer shards of quartz as wands. There again, crystals and stones have their kind of own association. So if we're talking about love again, you could use rose quartz as a wand, and rose quartz is usually pink, so you have that emotional kind of love thing happening. And then if you would be casting for love, then you have that coming through. So it kind of adds to it in the more emotional things. But primarily I've just seen wands that are wood with like wire wrap on it or crystals added to it, stones. Again, you can carve runes or symbols or talismans, even symbols that you've created yourself. Sometimes people will combine runes or other magical symbols. Constellation symbols you can combine together to create something new. You have two elements, of it to give you some other kind of magical working there as well. So next we have staves. Staves are also a little bit more modern of a tool as far as casting and ritual work. And even I think they're more primarily used by druids or solo workers, I want to say. The guys who wander around on the edge, they're the wander workers. I'm not sure how to explain that. But I think most Wiccans and most pagans probably won't have staves just because they're so big and wieldy. And if you live in a city and you don't have a place outdoors to work, they're a little harder to work with because just usually they're the size of the person. They come to about shoulder height or a little bit higher. So if you live in an apartment, it's a little harder to, be moving around with this staff without clunking yourself on the head or tripping over it. I've nailed myself a couple times with my own staff. So it happens. It's one of those things to be taken into consideration with what you want to work with where you're at. So essentially a staff is going to be considered a giant wand in certain aspects. Again, I feel that its elements are coming from what it's crafted from and what is put onto it. As far as any tools, what you charge it with, what you intend for it to do, is going to carry those energies. So besides its base energies, if you want something specifically dedicated to love, when you craft that wand, it will be just for those types of manifestations. And you can have several wands. You can have for whatever kind of magics that you want to work. If you want protection, you want love, you want cleansing, and those are the three types that you do mostly, then you can certainly have one dedicated just to your love spells, just to your cleansing spells, just to your healing spells, and they'll be for nothing else except for those manifestation works. And they may even be more potent because they're being used for just specifically that one thing and nothing else. over and over and over again. That's definitely a possibility. Um, I do have, like I said, I do have my staff, and my staff is made out of oak, and I have added feathers to it. I have two type of owl feathers and hawk feathers on it, and I've added a couple little beads in a pouch that looks like a bear. I put my bear mark on it, so I'm still adding to it whenever I find things. Sometimes they go in the pouch. If I'm called to put anything else on it, I'm sure I will. That's true for any tools. Again, whatever you're drawn to do, that's what you should do, and don't be afraid to add to it. The longer you use something, the more energy you put into it, I think the stronger that it becomes. So, okay, next we have the chalice and the cauldron, and these are both water energies, and they're both female or feminine associations with these. Chalices or goblets, any kind of cups that you want to use, doesn't matter what it is. Traditionally, it's kept in the western quarter of the circle, and that's the water corner, and that has feminine energy in and of itself. Chalices usually hold liquids or offerings for the divine or the god or goddess or any other thing that you want to bring honor to. That could be a totem animal, that could be a house spirit, that could be the spirit of the woods outside your house. It can be anything that you want to bring that honor to. Also, sometimes people will use it to hold salt water for purification or cleansing rituals, or for cleansing of a specific item. If they do have a rock or a crystal that they just bought and they want to kind of cleanse up, they don't like the energy of it, they kind of want to reset it, they'll use that salt water to reset it. Goblets or chalices or your cups can be as fancy or as simple as you want it to be. It can be a teacup, it could be something that has jewels in it, on it. It could have something carved in the stem. It could be a coffee cup, as simple or as complicated as you would like. And they can also be made out of anything: silver, wood, stone, ceramic, crystal. I've even seen crystal ones, crystals or blown glass or anything like that. So you can use any of that. Cauldrons. Cauldrons are, again, water energy, female association, and they're kept in the West as well. Most description of cauldrons you will find is that they are cast iron and three-legged. Mine happen to be that, but certainly what they're used for, a simple bowl could be used just as well. They usually represent bounty or prosperity because they're holding things, so they're used in prosperity spells a lot, or for bounty or harvest. They can also be used for scrying or divination work. If you're using water, you can do water scrying or water divination. A lot of people will use water scrying or cauldrons also for past life work, because cauldrons have the cycle of life connected to them: birth, death, rebirth again. So by going into the cauldron waters, we can be reborn through that. And, again, metaphorically speaking, these things are representing these energies that are passed over from generation to generation. So for us to come back again and to relearn what we've learned in the past, we can do that through the water work, through cauldron work. like I said, mine are cast iron and they are three-legged. It's important to remember that cauldrons come in all sizes. I've seen some in people's yards that are huge. They are gigantic and they're heavy and they have to stay where they are because they're so big. And I've seen little tiny mini ones that are just really little and be put in somebody's pocket and taken with them. So mine's kind of desk size. They're easily portable, and I do use them for a lot of things. Like I said before, holding herbs. I'll even use them to hold candles, so that they have a safe place to burn. For incense, water, everything and anything. My cauldrons are pretty much a free range tool for me, and I guess they do have a water association only because I guess I feel like they have a water association, but I kind of feel also they're, like I said, mine are kind of free range. They've been used for everything, so I kind of feel like mine are balanced at this point, and they can be used for blessing and all kinds of other things. I feel pretty free to do whatever I want with those. They're a universal tool for myself. So, okay, next is the pentacle disc, and this is not something that everybody uses. It is a focal point for consecration work or blessing work, like bringing something into a specific purpose. So if we have a dagger, we have a new dagger, and we want to bring it into, dedicate it to a goddess. So we're going to put it on the pentacle, and then it's going to be the focal point of our dedication to this particular goddess. So that's what that particular disc is used for. Traditionally, pentacles are associated with earth energy and carry female or feminine energies with them. I kind of feel like pentacle discs are a balanced energy for the mere fact that it has a pentacle engraved or painted on it. The pentacle itself is the symbol of all of the energies and spirit energy. So it specifically balances out all those energies together. So putting that on something, I think, brings that balance of energy into something. And I think that's why it is also used as a point of dedication, because then it is then being blessed with a balance of energy, and that energies carry something from every energy point. So you have something that's completely balanced as it's being brought into your magical work. So that's how I feel about pentacles, but like I said, traditionally they're an earth energy because it's supposed to be a grounding point, where things can be blessed or consecrated into whatever you want to do it with. They can be made out of wood, metal, ceramics. The pentacle can be engraved in it. It can be painted on it. I've even seen ones made out of heavy cardstock. If you just need one, you just draw it up really quick, and there you go. There's your pentacle disc. So, like I said, not everybody uses them, but it can be found. It can be found places there. All right, next we have the incense burner, or you might also hear that referred to as a censer. And basically, it is just anything that is heat proof that will hold your incense. And the kind that you have, or the kind that somebody would use, would probably be determined by what type of incense they're using. So if someone's using stick incense, they might use the longer wooden ones or a longer stone one, so it will catch all those ashes. If somebody's using cone incense, they might use a smaller round, something that's round. It could be a bowl, or it could just be a disc, a flat stone, anything that would be heat proof when it burns down. And some people will use loose incense or an incense mix, and they'll have something that has a piece of charcoal in it, and you set the charcoal alight, and then you just throw your mix in there and let it burn. So that's going to be something that's specific for that type of incense. So all of them, no matter what kind that you have, the incense holder itself is related to fire. It has fire energy, and the incense has air energy. I don't know anybody that thinks of that any differently, because I think it's just because the incense is floating in the air. It's associated with air, and then for that incense to happen, for that scent to happen, is fire. So what it's holding makes the fire energy happen. Like I said, those are wood, stone. I've seen ones that are ceramic, that are shaped like animals, or any figurines like people, anything like that. So whatever lends to what you want to use. If you find something that is in the shape of something that will add to what you're trying to manifest, then certainly use that. If just the wood ones work, then use those. Whatever. The only consideration is making sure that it's heat proof and you won't have a problem with anything else being set on fire. And also, when I do incense, or if I'm casting a circle, I have a smudge fan that I use, that I made myself. It's a bit longer. It's a little less traditional looking. I used a particular piece of willow that I liked, and then I tied some feathers onto it. The feathers that I have are geese feathers and duck feathers, and they're just from the geese and ducks that live outside my house. I'm lucky enough to live around a nice little pond, so they come in yearly, and they leave presents of feathers every year for me. So I use those to create my smudge fan. I don't think that this is a tool that a great many people use. Traditionally, it is related to Native American work, and Wiccans or Druids. A lot of other Euro-pagan groups don't particularly use these. I have just always liked fans in general, and I just felt drawn to have one, so I made one, and I made it myself. I'm sure I'm not quite done decorating it yet. If I find something else, it'll go on there, but I'm pretty happy with the way it is right now. So that's something else that can be used. It's definitely something that I use, but I haven't found anybody else who does use one for ritual work or anything like that. But I like mine, so I use it. Okay, so the next big subject is robes or magical clothing. This is something that is very, very personal. Robes and any kind of dress that you have are considered to have the energies of the caster. And so that means it's up to you in all senses of the word. It is all up to how you wish to express your own energies, the own energies of your heart and your soul and your spirit. Some people will have them made by other people, or they'll purchase something specific for their work. I like this shirt and this pants, so I'm going to dedicate this to this work and not wear it any other time. Some people make their own. The outfit that I wear when I cast or do ritual work, I did make myself. I have embroidered things on there, and I just made it so it would be comfortable for me to wear. My main goal was, I'm going to be doing this work for a while. I have to be in clothes that are comfortable for me. So that's where I started. So I designed them to be comfortable, and I'm adding to them as I go along. So I have a bear paw print on there. I have raven feathers. I have some pine leaves. I have owl footprint on there. And I'm going to just keep adding as whenever I feel like I want to add something else on there. I did design most of them in my power colors. And power colors are something that you feel that you draw strength from that particular color. So if you feel like you are most confident when you wear purple, that may be something that you want to consider adding to what you would be wearing during spiritual work. Any accessories, any article of clothing, a scarf or a ring or anything like that, a necklace, some kind of talisman that would have that particular color in it. Because that, again, your most powerful tool is yourself. So if you're feeling the most confident, you're going to manifest more confidently, more stronger. It's going to happen for you because you're feeling that confidence, you know. So that's something to take into consideration. So definitely you just find a way to express yourself and what's important for you. Again, a particular deity, if there's a totem animal or a particular spirit that's made itself known to you, and you want to put some kind of honor or dedication to them on your clothes, certainly do that. Certainly do that. Okay, last two things that we're going to talk about today is brooms and bells. And this is something definitely that is circumstantial and people might use or might not use. Brooms in particular have a specific purpose. You might not always see them in circles, but some people do have them. So firstly, bells. Bells are a calling tool. And this means they call energies in, or they call the circle to order. Sometimes they'll be used to, this is the start of this ritual, so we ding the bell. It can also be used to define the quarters. This is where air is, ring the bell. This is where fire is, ring the bell. This is where water is, ring the bell. So it establishes that line for you. Some people use it in that way. Or they use them in calling a god or a goddess into the circle. You know that energy has arrived because the bell is rung. So they can be used for that. They do have a feminine energy associated with them. I can't say that I feel one way or another about that. I have a bell, but I can't say that I feel like it's more feminine or more masculine. It's a bell. And mine's metal, but they come in, you can get crystal ones, you can get stone ones. I have seen wooden ones. I don't know how well they would work. I guess it would be a very particular sound that you would be looking for if you wanted a wood one. Which could be, I mean, it could be useful. I don't know. I just don't have one. I just haven't been trying to get one yet. So, could work, could not work. I don't know. Sometimes I use my bell, but for many of my rituals, I use a singing bowl as well. And that is something that I have always really liked the sound of. Ever since I first heard one when I was little, singing bells just called to me. I guess it's just the right pitch, it's the right tone, I don't know, but I've always loved them, so I got one for myself. So I do use that a lot more than I use my bell, but I do have both. And the other thing that we have is brooms. And brooms are primarily used for cleansing or purification rituals or manifestations. Generally speaking, They're comprised of ash, birch, and willow, and they carry both masculine and feminine energies. I feel though that brooms are one of these things that again depends on what it's comprised out of, that may also lend to the energies that it brings in to any particular thing. So if you're doing a cleansing or a purifying ritual, one of birch could be used, and it could work just as well. But if you are looking to do something else, like sweep in a change, you may want to craft one out of elder instead. Or if you want sun energies to be brought in, you could use ash. I also think that we need to look at how we define the word broom. I think when someone says broom, of course we think of the brooms that you go to buy at the store that you sweep your kitchen floor with. And a great many brooms that you will find for ceremonies do look like that. But the idea of sweeping and brushing in energies, could we not use a branch from a tree just as well? Would a branch with oak leaves being swept over something not work just as well to bring those specific energies into what we're trying to do? Would a branch with pine needles not work just as well to cleanse an area of the energies that we wish to sweep away? I think that they work just as good. So sometimes we don't have to have the mindset of this is what it should look like, and that's the only thing we can have to accomplish our goals, our manifestation. Sometimes we need to think a little bit outside the box and decide what exactly works for us, and can work just as well as anything else. So, alright, so that's what I wanted to talk with you guys about today. If you have any questions, leave it down below or send me a message. It was good to spend some time with you guys, and I'll see you next time in our Sacred Circle.